As the academic year winds down, the pressure of exams begins to dissipate and the anticipation of the holiday season starts to emerge. Alongside this excitement, there may be invitations to enjoy good times, occasionally involving underage drinking. So aware.org, a non-profit organization, decided to promote responsible drinking and reduce alcohol harm, is calling for vigilance against underage drinking during the upcoming year-end celebrations. Joining us now live is Mokebe Thulo, who is the head of aware.org. Mokebe, thank you very much for joining us on the SABC News channel this morning. I mean, this is such a critical time to have this conversation. You know, young people, in particular the matriculants, they call it what? Pens down, something along those lines. And that is often accompanied with a whole lot of partying, a whole lot of binge drinking. That's what we've seen. And parties that are specifically tailored to, what do they say in Xhosa? Uklambi phepha. That's what they say. What are we doing to ensure that, you know, young people understand that they can enjoy themselves, but sometimes, you know, it doesn't often end well?
Good morning, Griselda, and thank you so much for having us on your show. I mean, we really appreciate the opportunity. The answer to your question is not an easy one, in short, but what we do is that we speak to young people throughout the year, and not just when it comes to the season of pens down, so to speak.
Yes.
We also let young people know that there are alternative ways to still have fun without engaging in irresponsible behavior, such as underage drinking. I mean, when we look at the statistics and we look at, you know, anecdotally within our communities, the effects and consequences that some of this irresponsible behavior leads to, it honestly makes no sense, and there's no reason for us to be in this position. We believe that there is a way to curb this, and that we all need to work together, and thus working with different organizations, various communities, community leaders, as well as the young people themselves, to not only educate them about the benefits of positive behavior. And here I'm not just speaking about not engaging in underage drinking, but also the potential negative consequences of doing so. That's what we do.
You know, we grew up during a very different time where there wasn't things like, you know, social media pressure, the things that we get to see online now. You know, you often just got your peer pressure from, but you could escape some of those things if it was at all possible. Right now, you have social media and the influences thereof. You know, those are certainly some of the elements that most of these teenagers fall into, those traps, and end up engaging in alcohol abuse. How do we curb this, or even use the very same platforms to try and address some of these challenges that young people are experiencing?
You bring up a very good point, and I think it's around understanding what are the drivers behind this behavior. And one of them is what you've just said. It's the idea of peer pressure, and we understand the very serious implications of peer pressure. So we need to look at ways of turning this around. How do we create spaces in which there is positive peer pressure being created? And you know, it's not that young people are bad people. Some people just fall into situations where they make bad decisions, and only because they don't necessarily know the implications and dangers thereof, and most importantly, B, the other side of the coin, what you could rather do. So in our programs that we run, and you know, Griselda, underage drinking is our flagship program. We have a zero tolerance policy towards underage drinking, and that is the message that we spread in schools and communities throughout the year. We work with organizations that are working at grassroots levels, with NGOs that are working within these communities in order to empower them and in order to facilitate some of these programs that they are already running. So it is the idea of reversing or flipping the coin. We teach young people the positive impacts of making other decisions, because at the end of the day, this is a holistic program that we have to look at. It's not just about underage drinking. Underage drinking seems to be a symptom of bad choices, but there's a whole series of bad choices that can be made. And if we then, from as young as possible, I mean, we know that at least 49.2% of young people under the age of 17 have had their first alcoholic beverage, for example. That is an alarming statistic. So we need from the very start to start teaching young people how to make good decisions, empowering them to make good decisions around whether it be their academic careers, around their mental health. They need to look after their mental health. They need to be empowered with, where do I go to if I need help with this sort of thing? So it is a holistic program that we run, and we need to identify these positive role models that will also lead this message with us.
But I guess it's not just your responsibility. We need communities, to come together and assist, even those who sell alcohol within these communities, to not sell alcohol to underage children. How are you tailoring your messages so that it involves these communities, as well as perhaps those who sell alcohol in these communities, that when you see a young person walk in to a tavern, when you see a young person, walk into a bottle store, simply chase them away. They must go.
Simply chase them away, and that's the message that we bring across. What we say, again, I will reiterate this whole of society direction that we take. It's everyone's responsibility, just as you say. It is me, as the neighbor of a family that has young people in it. I can see what's happening, so I also need to have a say. As somebody that is a leader within the community, whether I'm a young leader or whether I'm, for example, an educator, whether I am a peer, for example, if I can have a positive relationship with alcohol or not have a relationship with alcohol, and a positive relationship with my peers so that I can impact their thinking. But it does come down to all of us. And a part of it is down to policy, which is that we cannot have facilities that are selling alcohol to people under the age of 18. It is absolutely irresponsible. Not only that, it is also illegal. So that is a part that law enforcement has to play. But it does come down to all of us playing our part in ensuring that this behavior does not continue.
And I mean, what are some of these harms that, engaging in alcohol abuse can have on the youth? Maybe let's just talk to some of them, if they're listening or watching at all, some of these harms, that they could come across thinking that what they're doing is just a good time.
Yeah, it's actually quite frightening if you think about it. The list is almost endless, but if you can think of something as simple as, let's say, taking a drink, feeling the effects of that drink, stumbling down the road, anything can happen to you. You expose yourself to all sorts of dangers. Whether you are walking, which means that, pedestrian accidents occur so often. We also have to think about the fact that the thinking process is affected when somebody is under the influence of alcohol, particularly if they are under the age of 18. Your brain is not fully formed, according to science, until a certain age. So you are even further impacted. So some of those decisions that you make, aside from the initial decision to consume that beverage potentially, can lead to various consequences. And sadly, one of those is one of the umbrellas that we look at, which is a fetal alcohol syndrome disorder. So a lot of young people fall pregnant, and because their inhibitions are gone when they are under the influence, which leads to other bad decisions. So it's almost like this effect, this knock-on effect that can be almost endless. So we implore upon you as a young person to protect yourself, to protect your space, to protect your future, to protect your, your mental positivity. I mean, we've got a stat that says if you consume a drink, or if you start drinking under the age of 18, you're 4 times more as likely to have trouble with alcohol post the legal drinking age. So it's a myriad of possible problems that you can encounter. It is simply a better decision to choose not to drink.
Mokebe Thulo, thank you very much. We appreciate having this discussion with you here this morning on the SABC News channel, the head of aware.org. Thank you very much for your time.